Matthew Jones for this month's episode of Spotlight on Scholarship. To begin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at OCU?
So my name is Matt Jones. I am a musicologist. I teach in the Wanda Bass School of Music. I teach a variety of courses in our music history and musicology sequence, and I also do research and publishing in areas related to LGBTQ music history and popular music studies, and I am an active pianist and musical theater director around town.
For those of us who may not be familiar with your field, how would you define musicology, and what does it mean to be a musicologist?
So musicology is literally just the study of music, and it encompasses a variety of approaches. So some people do archival work and kind of manuscript studies dealing with like very old music going all the way back to antiquity and the Middle Ages. There are people who do things like I do that are more current music and popular music and music video. There's a group of scholars who call themselves ethnomusicologists who do kind of oral history and ethnographic work where they will go and spend long stretches of time with the music communities that they study in order to get kind of insider perspectives on that music as part of their research. And some people, myself included, do kind of a hybrid of all of those approaches.
So you've published several books in the last few years. Tell us a little bit about your research.
So my research for the past decade has been about the musical response to the AIDS crisis, primarily through popular music and music video. My first book was a biography of an activist and songwriter named Michael Callan, who played a really important role in AIDS activism in the early years of the AIDS crisis in the early 1980s. He was actually one of the first people diagnosed with what hadn't even been named yet. The disease didn't have a name and the cause had not been discovered when he was diagnosed as immune deficient in the early 80s. He co-authored what is considered the first safer sex guide in 1983, and he was also a fairly prolific songwriter and performer. I had the good fortune to meet his surviving partner kind of by accident through commenting on a YouTube video when I was in graduate school. And so his name is Richard. Richard invited me to New York. He, after we got to know each other a bit, said, I have all of Michael's stuff out in a storage unit in Queens. Here are the keys, knock yourself out. And over time, he started introducing me to members of Michael's chosen family, his biological family, the musicians that they worked with when they were recording their albums together. So that project came together as this sort of really extensive archival and ethnographic oral history project. And the second phase of my research is a second book called How to Make Music in an Epidemic. And it is a broad look at popular music and music video and the ways in which those were used as forms of activism in response to the AIDS crisis from 1981, when the disease was first identified, through 1996, when the first effective treatments were created.
So how do you continue to develop your scholarship and expertise beyond the classroom?
So teaching and scholarship are really integrated for me, and one of the ways that I continue thinking about new research projects is through developing courses. So here I've had the opportunity to teach a course called Music in the AIDS Crisis, and that has opened some avenues to a couple of forthcoming book projects that are related to other repertoires besides popular music. So I'm currently working on a book that I'm calling Memento Mori, that is about classical requiems that were written for chorus and orchestra in that same time period from 1981 to 1986. I am a kind of obsessive collector of things. I guess I'm a little bit of like a musical hoarder. And so I'm constantly reaching out to people, and I've got to the point now where people are kind of reaching out to me. Last year, the son of a composer who passed away during COVID found in a box underneath his father's bed the manuscript of what I think is the first opera that was written about the AIDS crisis. It was performed one time in San Francisco, and then the father boxed it away and put it under the bed. So that's been given to me. So I have this huge collection of unpublished and unperformed music that I'm trying to figure out what to do with, whether that is to produce critical editions of the scores, to arrange performances, and also to write about it in a kind of scholarly way. And then the interest in music in the AIDS crisis led to an interest in the field of music and disability studies, and so I've been working on some projects related to that, including a course that I just taught last semester on the music of Joni Mitchell that sort of looks at her idiosyncratic guitar technique through the lens of disability studies and teaches students, in addition to the sort of scholarly side of that subfield, also teaches them to play her music using her kind of technique. So I'm constantly sort of bringing those two sides of what I do together because I think they really inform one another and shape one another.
So you said that you have been fortunate enough to teach what you're doing in your scholarship in classes.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit more about how your scholarship does inform and come out in your courses.
So one of the ways that my scholarship directly informs my teaching is that I have the sort of blessing and curse of being one of the only people actively publishing and writing about this field or this intersection of music in the AIDS crisis. So I get the opportunity to assign my own research, which is kind of wonderful but also terrible, right? Wonderful because I get to share it with intelligent and inquisitive students, but terrible because sometimes they feel a little hesitant to maybe critique the work because the author is sitting in the room with them and the author is also the person assigning their grades. Mm-hmm. So what I'll often do if I assign my own work is I will redact my name from it so that they don't know that I wrote it, so that they feel a little more free to offer critiques, because I'm that's one of the ways that as a scholar and a teacher we grow is through that sort of feedback loop, and having the opportunity to get feedback from students is really, really crucial. So there's maybe a little like subterfuge involved in that case, but it kind of frees them up to say what they think about the work and also allows me an opportunity to get real-time feedback on it. And then in other ways, I think the classroom is a laboratory for ideas, and I think that music students at OCU are particularly great at this because they're sort of bold enough to jump into topics that they're maybe unfamiliar with, or they are maybe a little hesitant to get started with, but they will sort of throw themselves into the work, and you get that sort of real-time feedback of this reading, whether it's my work or someone else's, this reading really did not land with them. So what do I do? How do I recover from that? So I think the classroom as just kind of this like experimental space is also really important to me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us today and sharing a little bit about what you do here at OCU and how your scholarship impacts our classroom. Congratulations.
Thank you.